Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most important video you'll ever watch. All right, we're going to talk about cool stats that you would have never known, but you would know if you've helped 2,500 people do their product photography. So, we're going to talk about random stats, cool things, anything that Anthony just hasn't talked about yet that he feels was interesting or helpful. So, what's the first one? Or what?
Okay. So a couple of them, these mainly come from the talks, like both myself and my business partner, Eric. We give talks at a bunch of different Amazon conferences. So we try to get some research, for stats and facts. Like a couple of interesting ones. Number one is that a lot of people don't know this. Listing quality is actually more important than price and the number of positive reviews. Another one that's really important is in terms of recall, if you show someone just text versus text plus an image, people are going to recall that information 60% of the time, versus if you just show them text, they're going to recall the information only 10% of the time. Another really big one, and this is getting more and more into video now that video is available on most people's listings, is that if you poll people and say, hey, would you prefer to watch a video or to read text? It's 85% of the people would prefer to watch a video than to actually read any amount of text at all. Yeah, a couple of other things that I've found, in terms of that have a big impact on someone's listing, aside from just making the listing look better. Um, Product inserts can be a really big one, right? So if you have a product that's complicated and you see that, hey, maybe people aren't setting this up in the right way, or they think the product has this use, but it's intended for this use, having an insert that could say, hey, top 5 mistakes made when using this product, that can really go a long way in reducing the number of negative reviews. Yeah.
Oh. So do you suggest that people address negatives in their pictures and their listings so that the people that just don't buy, if they're going to be a problem, or do that, or
Yeah, I mean, you want to be as transparent as possible with your product and the purpose of what your product is. So if, let's say you could get an extra 5 sales a day from people ordering a product that is not going to be for their intended use. I'm trying to think if I could think of like a good example of this. But essentially, like, maybe you could use a product for one use, but then you could also use it for another use, but the secondary use, I don't know, like, this is a really bad example, but let's say, I mean, the to set up a tent, you have all the things that, like, you put together for the poles, right? And so it's like, okay, the intended use of that is for to assemble a tent, but one of the other things that you could also potentially use it for is, like, I'm going to hang my clothes on it, right? And it's like, it could work, and if maybe for some crazy world there's a lot of people buying that, and then they put like 5 shirts on it, and then that makes it fall down, and like, this product sucks, and you're like, well, it's not for hanging your clothes on, it's for going camping with. If you can go get those extra sales, it's going to make more sense for you to be proactive and address that. If half of your sales are coming through people thinking this is a clothes hanging product, then you would want to proactively address that in your images and say, no, this is for camping.
Okay, yeah. So I know that one Anchor, on some of their products, they have fast charge, but they specifically state that for these models, it will just charge at normal speed, not the fast charge. So they could just say, hey, we fast charge and everything, but they know that they're going to get those negative reviews, or people just won't be as happy with their brand. Nobody would have really known, but just go ahead and own what you have, and then the right people will buy it.
Yeah, that's a much better example.
Yeah, don't try to pitch your tent as a clothes hanger, but you never know.
You never
Anyways,
know.
any other cool random facts? Or
No, I mean, just at the end of the day, is that I think people significantly underestimate the value that having a good quality listing is going to have. That's the biggest thing that we have people come to us, and it's very apparent. They come to us and they say, "Hey, I used to be a bestseller in this category. I used to be going through 100 units a day, like really crushing it, and now I'm not." And they're just blown away with how this has happened to them. And then when we go and we look at their competitors and we pull it up, like, it's like, because their listing looks better, and it really makes a much bigger impact than what people think. So I'd say, like, you got to think of, before, you know I guess the biggest pitch is, like, you have two different things that are very important in terms of Amazon selling. You've got traffic and you've got conversion. And so traffic is just getting people to your actual listing. That's challenge number one. But the thing is, if you get an unlimited number of people to your listing and you're not actually converting them as customers, then everything that you're doing in terms of traffic, it doesn't matter nearly as much, because you're spending a ton in PPC, you're running Facebook ads, you're running external traffic. But then if you don't actually convert them on the back end, that's really your biggest problem. So, the thing about any of the services we offer, anything we've talked about in this course, is that this is something you spend one time on, and then it's going to have compounding benefits. So if you're asking about like success and wins rather, we've got our case study up on our website. We can see, and you'll see examples of people 2xing their monthly revenue. But I've talked to customers that have seen much higher than that. I think the highest I've ever seen is before we optimized their listing with images till after, they saw a 3.4x uplift. I think they were doing like maybe $4,000, and then they had gone up to almost $12,000 a month. And so like that's just 1 month. Like this is something that unless your competitors go through and re-optimize their listing, there's a very good chance, even if you just see a 10% increase in monthly sales, and you're going to go from $1,000 a month to $1,100 a month, that's something that's going to compound every single month, because once you've made that investment, it's going to have an impact on your product. Whereas PPC, it's going to be generally static in terms of input output. The cost that you're spending on your inventory
every year, it's going to continue to cost more.
Right. So this is something that it's a one-time cost, but it's going to have increasing benefits. Whereas like inventory is something you have to buy. PPC, it's something you're going to pretty much have to buy, but it's not going to increase over time.
Yeah, definitely. So that would be my big tip for everybody, is even if it increases your conversion by 1%, it's worth it over time, because you get more sales. And then now the higher your conversion rate and the more add to carts, because you also get more add to carts, then there's all these ranking signals that Amazon likes. And then you might even pay less for PPC now because it sees that you convert better. There's all these extra benefits. It adds to the brand value. So you just want to have good photos. If I could have one thing, I would choose photos and no bullet points.
Well, and think about this too, again, from like that Amazon perspective. And we talked a little bit about this earlier in the course, is like their name of the game is making everything as easy of a buying decision for the customer as possible. So if you have a better quality listing and you can actually make your listing an easier buying process for the customer, then Amazon is obviously going to prioritize your content versus everyone else's, because it's making that decision easier for the customer.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, thanks for all the tips and everything, Anthony. If you guys have any questions for him, ask.